Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening, or rather watching, The Reds Report. I'm Chris Ridgard. Alongside me is my Dutch friend and partner in crime, something like that, Carl van der Watering.
How are we doing?
Carl?
Yeah.
Right.
Chris, may I be the first one on camera to say happy birthday for today? How old today?
Thank you. I'm 32 today. So.
That's not bad. I thought you were a little older, to be fair. So that's good. That's good.
That's been a friend with you, mate. I've started to look old in these past 2 years. So, yeah. Also, with Carlo, we have a man who had great success in South Yorkshire before moving to Leeds, and he now works at BBC Up North, Rob Staton.
Hi guys, how's it going? I thought you were going to introduce our other guest there, but what a wonderful introduction that was.
No worries, buddy. Also, we have Paul Heckingbottom, former promotion-winning player, and of course, promotion-winning manager. Wembley twice, dream manager as well. Paul Heckingbottom. You all right, Paul? Thanks for joining us.
Good, thanks, gents. No problem. Hope you're all well.
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, you're looking well. We're all looking well. I would say the sun's been very nice to us. We all look better tan.
I'm just desperate for an haircut, me. That's all. I keep sitting like this so you don't see too much.
We'll make a start. We'll just talk. We might as well go straight into it. Massive win for Barnsley last week, and QPR 0, Barnsley 1. Paul, we'll start with yourself. Thoughts on that big result? Straight back into it and hit the ground running, Barnsley.
Yeah, and I think it's got everyone excited again. If you'd have asked me before that game, I'd have said Barnsley's chances were slim, but with the other results as well, there's sort of 6 or 7 teams all in and around it, and we put pressure now on everyone else, really. You look at Middlesbrough making a management change off the back of the results and things like that, so it shows that there's a lot of teams panicking over the position in the league, and momentum's key, and to get that first win in the first game, it's really put a cat among the pigeons like now for the running, so it was vital, really.
Yeah. Rob, did you see that coming? Did anybody see it coming over and Gerhard Struber?
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I did, because Struber's been so positive during the lockdown. You know, when we talked to him, he's been really upbeat, and then it's been great speaking to players like Alex Moat and Cauley Woodrow, and they've been really positive and upbeat as well. So I do think there was actually a lot that was settled at Barnsley. When you look at teams like, just an example, Hull City, there's an awful lot going on there. Middlesbrough's sacked the manager and made a change this week. Huddersfield have not started with any momentum. I think that actually the preparation that Barnsley have had and the upbeat positivity from the manager, which has really gone down to the players, I fancy them to beat QPR. And QPR had a lot of injuries in that game as well. And it's a good start for them to try and move out of this bottom 3, and who knows what's going to happen with points deductions for other teams, and they'll give themselves, a real chance of staying up.
Fingers crossed there will be point deductions. Carlo, just a fan's perspective, really. How happy were you? How many beers did you have? What time did you go to bed?
A bit personal, isn't it? No, I think prior to this, obviously, first of all, you were hoping football was going to come back in some way, shape or form. And I think the majority of Barnsley fans have said that if we go down, then we need to go down because we haven't got enough points, not because of some algorithm said that we wouldn't have had enough points. Yeah, you look for the positives, don't you? You look for clubs like Rob said, you look for clubs like Hull that are excluding certain media people. You look at clubs like Middlesbrough who are panic or not, but get rid of one manager and bring another one in. You look at other clubs or players saying, I'm not going to play. And then you look at Barnsley that seem to be a settled squad and definitely a young squad. And when you've got 8 games coming in the space of, 3 weeks or so. So to get that win, and not just an away win, I think even probably more motivation, because it's 70 years since we won there. So to do it under those circumstances fills us with even more hope than we had before we resumed the season.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we'll move on to the next bit. Just 1 minute. Paul, just for yourself, really. There's no injuries. It's going to be the same team played before. Elliot Simoes is fit despite having to come off the pitch. And obviously, Brad Collins is now also available. Would you be looking at changing that squad, or would you be trying to keep it same? I don't know. Winning squad, do you change something that's winning?
No, I mean, you see how everyone's done in training, and first game back after a big layoff, who's suffered, has anyone suffered? But Carlo mentioned the youth in the squad's a good thing, without a doubt. You wouldn't want to be making changes with momentum. The clean sheets are a big thing for me. That that's been the biggest change. You know, if you look at how Barnsley started the season, it was goals against, and then going on a good run. But then what scuppered the good run? Just still individual mistakes when you're looking really strong in a game and things like that. So the clean sheets are vital for me for a team like Barnsley. When you're young, you can show that resilience and you know how to keep clean sheets. First and foremost, you're guaranteed a point. But the bigger picture for me is there's belief there, and there's a lot of learning gone off during this season. If you stop him making mistakes and keeping clean sheets, so for that reason, I don't think he'll be looking to make any changes.
That's interesting. Yeah, you kind of as a football fan, you always think about scoring goals. You win games by scoring goals, but yeah, I suppose we did concede quite a lot. We need a lot, obviously, to beat QPR last time. We had to win 5-3.
Yeah, but Barnes' problem, whenever you watched them, even to a certain extent going up, but certainly in the Championship, and every game out, Barnsley were a nightmare to play against. They'd give teams problems, their energy, the willingness to run. They took risks, so they'd be horrible to play against. But you've always got chances. So regardless if Barnsley had been good for 80 minutes, they'd concede 2 goals and they needed to score 3 to win. Yeah. You know, that was the biggest thing that they needed to change during the season. And for me, they've done it. Certainly, if you're looking at trends, they've got much better in that area, and it's given them a chance.
Yeah, Carlo, can you see Brad Clinton's dislodging Jack Walton, given Jack Walton's wonderful performance? Another clean sheet, back-to-back clean sheets for him, even though it was a big gap in between them.
It's hard, isn't it? Because as a fan, which is all that we are, you say, well, no, Jack Walton's done okay, hasn't he? He's had a bit of a nightmare season when we almost started with 3 keepers. Well, we brought 2 keepers in, didn't we? Obviously, Radlinger came in. We brought Brad Collins in. There was never really a number one, either through injury or mistakes. He kept swapping and changing. And to me, Jack Walton, that save towards the end, when he was called upon, he did what he needed to do. So to me, you keep him in goal, and therefore you try and get a tenth more of a percent out of Brad Collins to try and be better than Jack Walton and just make that position stronger for us.
Of course. Rob, the return list has been released this week, which is very strange. It's a very strange time in terms of it's the normal time that it would be released. However, it's mid-season to a certain degree. Obviously, Dougal's leaving, Radlinger's leaving. Although it's sad that those players are going, which surely Barnes are in a much better position than previous teams that we've mentioned that maybe losing 4 or 5 key players. Would you argue that?
Yeah, oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, there are teams that are losing really important players. And, you know, it'd be interesting to hear what Paul thinks about this, because imagine being, in the running, let's say it's March, April time, and then all of a sudden you lose a couple of key players. I can't imagine what that must be like as a manager, and you've got no means to go out and sign anybody else. You're going to have a whole bunch of players after this weekend who are just waiting for a transfer to open and not really knowing what their futures are going to hold. You're going to have managers and staff who are kind of planning without knowing what division they're going to be in next season as well. So it's a really awkward time for football clubs. And from a manager's point of view, I can't imagine what it'd be like if you have a player for this weekend's game and then you're playing, got a really quick turnaround, you play again in midweek, you play again on the Saturday, and all of a sudden your squad's weaker than it was, just a couple of games ago.
Yeah, Paul, we'll ask you about that. We'll talk about the return list and the comings and goings of players and transfer markets and things like that. It's an absolute merry-go-round, and for it to happen at this time of year, that's going to be difficult. It's just carnage, is it not, as a manager?
Yeah, it's strange because there's still games to be going on, but the retainer says that. So if a player's made a decision, if he's got a chance, I'm using Lyle Taylor as an example, got a chance to get a move, contracts up, chance to get a move, he's made that decision, so he'd be going anyway. So it's about it, he's not there. And then you've got clubs like Barnsley who their retainers come out and it's the players who they don't want to keep who's going, so that's no issue either. It made your squad smaller because you're going to be using players who aren't necessarily would have been in your 18, but that's the only difference. And then in terms of a time frame from the end of this season to the start of the next, it's just like being in a playoff final, so yeah, it might be abnormal, but you have to deal with it. If you give anyone a chance to play in a playoff final, then have a 4-week turnaround, and snap your hand off. Yeah. And you don't know what division you're going to be in then, and blah, 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 you might lose. So when we went up that time, of the 20-man squad we took, 12 had gone by the end of the window. you know. Yeah. So we only had 8 of that 20 left after that window. So we had to do some business there. Do you get what I mean? So, but we wouldn't have changed it. We wouldn't have changed anything. So you have just got to get on with it. And, you know, I think you mentioned about positivity coming out with Oatwell as a manager. If they're going to sit and moan about it, they're already behind, aren't they? So it's there, you deal with it, and it's how good your planning is then as to how good you are next season.
Of course, yeah. Carlo, you watched the game Saturday, albeit not where you'd like to be watching it. I just wonder what your thoughts were on having 11 players on the pitch, but effectively 9 subs, able to make 5. I'm led to believe he only used 4. I just wonder what your take on that. I thought like he used the subs not just to get freshness on, but I think he timed them well just to control the game. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like all fans, you see the lineup and, you know, you think, oh, that's a bit strange. Not to the extreme where some people are calling for the manager's head because there's 2 players in that haven't played for a while. I mean, you know, he's seen these players, so we trust his decision. And take Romo Palmer, for instance. You know, he's done really well for the under-23. He's obviously coming through. He's come back after lockdown. And, it's not nice to see somebody like Kenny Dougal leave. But you look who Barnsley have got that is regularly playing. Apo Halmer can play in that position. Mowat can play in that position. I'm pretty sure Romo Palmer can play in that position. So, Toby Sibic has played, so there is plenty of options there. So on the retained list, I think that's just emotional. Players you got used to, you like this people, you like their hair, whatever. They move on. There's only a few. And when's the last time any of these actually played 90 minutes? It's just weird. It's weird watching it on iFollow. It is weird hearing stadium noise that's quite generic. But whenever we get 3 points, I ain't complaining, Chris.
Rob, obviously the line was 7 points. The survival line was 7 points away beginning of last weekend. It's now down to 4 points. You've talked about positivity coming out. Well, you can feel it off Gerhard Struber. That can only add to that, can't it? It's a much more achievable goal now, isn't it?
Yeah, things just seem settled, as I mentioned. You know, when you look at Barnsley and everyone's saying the same thing. You know, everybody's pretty upbeat about everything. And then take Hull, for example. I mean, they're banning the local newspaper from attending the press conferences in the stadium. You know, they've sold players. They've lost a whole bunch of key players. You know, you were talking about the retain list there. Hull have lost 3 or 4 starters who are just not going to be part of this team going forward. It's a really difficult job for Grant McCann at Hull City. Who knows what Neil Warnock... I mean, generally Neil Warnock comes in and has an impact, and he's kept Rotherham up in a similar circumstance. But, you know, that's been a very difficult job, Middlesbrough, hasn't it, for a few years. So let's see what happens there. Huddersfield have gone down from the Premier League, and they've got a new manager. They've not started well. You know, we've seen it before, haven't we? Teams who come down from the Premier League, and then they get sucked down again. So if Barnsley can just keep going, keep getting a few results, it's a big game this weekend, but it's a winnable game. If they can get a little run to go here, and like you say, it's 7 points, it's down to 4. Who knows what's going to happen with the CFL charge with Sheffield Wednesday? You know, there's all talks. You know, could it be 9 points? Could it be even, you know, like 20 points or something like that? That hearing result will come out soon. We'll know the situation with that. That could also improve Barnsley's situation. So. There's a lot of things at the moment that are good. We also know things can change pretty quick. We get a result against Millwall and try and build some momentum in these first few games.
Yeah. Chris, yes, can I just ask Paul? Paul, as fans, a lot of fans are saying, we've got a crucial week coming up, haven't we? Where we play a lot of those teams that are in or around us. We play Luton, Stoke and Wigan, I believe, in sort of like in the space of, a week and a half. I know you can't say what Gerhard Struber would be doing, but as a coach, do you literally take it at this moment in time just a match at a time? Or do you think in your head, if we can if we can get 4 points before we start this crucial running, we put ourselves in a good position? Or is that fan talk? As a coach, do you just say, we'll take this match and then on to the next one?
Yeah, match at a time, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've spoke to a lot of my mates, and you're looking where you're going to get results, but I guarantee you no one will get it right. You know, so you have to try and win every game. You've got to. Yeah. How many would have given us 3 points away at QPR? Maybe the diehards, the more hopeful ones.
Or the drunk ones, yeah.
But I think games like you just spoke about. So just get the points in the bag as early as possible. 2 reasons. You're allowed then to slip it because you're not going to win every game. But the biggest one is it puts more pressure on the teams above you. You know, while ever they're not feeling that pressure, their games are that much easier. If this gap's 1 point after this weekend, I tell you what, their games become vital and sort of the pressure's off Barnsley a little bit because you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, it's interesting to mention pressure there. And we've just talked about relegation line with Rob. Gerhard Struber called it the pressure zone. Is there a way that you've described it any better than that, Paul? And I guess my other question is, how do you manage that pressure zone? What kind of techniques or man management would you use in that situation?
I don't know. Down there, I've not had that like relegation battle, but in terms of pressure, like so big games, I remember when we were chasing the promotion and then big games in the championship sort of took care of themselves, but chasing the promotion, we sort of built the games up because at the end of the day, you want to play in big games. You want to be winning big games, so it's pointless trying to play them down. For the benefit of your club, for the benefit of yourself, for the benefit of the players in the long run, you want to be able to deal with them. So I think getting the practice in dealing with those big games is vital. But the big thing's confidence. If it's the right things, but then acting and panicking when a player makes a mistake the first time he touches the ball, you're sending mixed messages. So you have got to act in a way that backs up what you're saying, you know. And especially when you've got a young team, you've got to give them that belief, give them everything, accept they're going to make mistakes. But no, they're going to keep trying and display that energy so long as you're showing that belief in them.
Yeah, that's interesting insight. Carlo, home advantage Saturday. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? I've seen there's an app. Apparently there's an app.
Yes, yeah. It's a question I asked Gerhard Struber in the press conference yesterday. How can you make home advantage count? It's really strange. Besides the fact that they'll be used to the dressing room, and they've obviously got everything sorted how they want. I don't know. I sometimes think, and Paul will probably agree with this, probably Rob as well. It's not easy sometimes being a Barnsley player because even when you're on top of there, if you miss a chance, fans soon get it back on you. And I think a young squad like this, maybe it's in our favour that if we do make that mistake, 12,000 people don't start booing and whistling and everything else. So maybe this can play in our favour. I honestly, I never thought coronavirus would do anything beneficial to us, but I honestly think in the position we find ourselves, maybe not having that pressure from the 12 men who are all very expectant that we can fight our way out of this. But that's easy, isn't it? Setting the Pontiac or in the West Stand with your season ticket that you rode up while it's raining, saying, "Oh, we can do this," because ultimately it's one of the youngest squad. I think the talent's there. I think the right management's in place, and maybe not having 12,000 players, so-called players on your back, could be an advantage. So not a real home advantage, no, but it didn't stop us at QPR, did it?
No, it's a very valid point. It didn't. Rob, we've talked about the ins and outs of players previously. This week, again, a new rule has been introduced where players returning on loan are now available and can be used. I just want your thoughts on that. The thoughts on changing rules around substitutions and now allowing players that have already been out on loan. Is it a new competition? Is it the one that we started with? And how do you see that playing out over the next coming weeks, particularly for Barnsley?
Yeah, I mean, everything's really different, isn't it? When you watch the games on the TV at the moment, you get these stoppages after 22 and a half minutes, and that kind of, the tempo of a lot of these games is not there already because it's like a season restarting again, and then you kind of suck the life out of games sometimes with the breaks, and then you get in all these substitutions, as you mentioned, their loan players are coming back. But I think on the loan thing specifically, they had to do it. I mean, if a player comes back, and then is he going to be waiting for however long to play, and if teams are losing players and they can maybe bring some of these guys back into their squads, it's good. And in the case of Barnsley, they're not going to be relying on anybody coming back now from loan to really help them out. It's going to be up to the players who are already in the squad, but a few extra numbers there to bolster the roster between now and the end of the year, it can only help.
Carlo, can you see George Miller playing a part, or maybe Toby Sibic?
But I can be one thing for sure. Malak Wilkes won't. He was very, very clear about that in the press conference. When asked if there was a role, he did say there would be training, but I think his words were something like, for Malak Wilkes, there'll be no episode, or in other words, he's not. I don't know. I honestly think that the squad we took down to QPR on Saturday is probably the best option that we've got. And I don't think you want to unsettle something with players that have been at other clubs to try and then bring them in. So I don't think he will, no.
You read my mind there. The last question is to Paul just before we move on to predictions, Paul. would you be looking to bring players back in that have come off loan? I mean, obviously, it's a boost in numbers. You might need a few bodies in there. You might be civic to replace Dougal in defensive midfield at some point. But surely you don't want to, unbalance that dressing room if you've just got it.
Yeah, and if the squad's performing well and the balance is there, keep it. But you're going to want to look at them players and you've got to judge them and their character. Because if they're going to add something to your squad, if they're going to help benefit you in training and benefit competition, so long as their application's there, then you use them. But if they've been told that they're surplus to requirements, it's pointless. It's pointless because there's nothing worse or there's nothing more detrimental to the environment than like a non-motivated player or anything like that. You need to just get rid. So we'll be looking at that. If someone's going to add value, we'll keep them involved. If they're not, if he's already mentioned Malik, they'll be on the way.
Brilliant. And we'll move on to predictions before we wrap up. Carlo, I just want to let you know I got last week's prediction right. I said 1-0. I didn't get scorer, but I did get the score, so I'll take it. Can I have that one?
Yeah, go on, I'll let you have that one. It's not often you get
Carlo,
something right, so,
Yeah. Carlo, score and scorers.
Well, just to say that after this, when we've uploaded it, we interviewed Cauley Woodrow yesterday. He did his own prediction. So whilst I won't give anything away, I'll go for my favourite score, which is 3-1 to Barnsley, and I'll back Cauley Woodrow to back the first one. Sounds
wonderful. Rob, yourself?
Yeah, Cauley Woodrow's a top bloke, so I look forward to listening to that. I think 2-1 to Barnsley and 2 wins in a row to restart.
Rob, you'll do for me. You can come back on any time.
Is it me?
Yeah. Yes, Paul.
Yes. Well, whilst 2 wins in a row will be unbelievable, I think it's going to be really, really tough. I'm going to go for 2-2. So if you want me if it's heart rule in my head, I'd say Barnsley win, obviously, but I think there's going to be goals in it, and I think it's such a tough game that off the back of that win, as a fan looking now, I think not to lose and keep the momentum is vital, because I think it's going to be such a tough game. So 2-2.
Brilliant.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's a point. I guess momentum keeps going. Matt, because you're outvoted on this one, Paul. Barnsley's going to win. It's 3-1. So, Carlo.
Yes.
Carlo, thank you very much for joining us on our podcast. It's wonderful to see you, as always.
Don't forget, Chris, I'll be Zooming you at 5 o'clock for a little birthday surprise. So, yeah, don't get too drunk.
You're keeping your clothes on, that's fine. Rob,
yes, I am.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's great to see you. Please come back on at some point soon.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
And Paul,
thanks very much.
Great to have you. Great insight. We're sharing your knowledge with us, and all the best through the summer with tutoring children, which I'm sure is in your skill set, no doubt. Please come back on at some point soon, Paul.
No problem. Thanks, fellas, and happy birthday, mate. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Paul. That's really appreciated. See you later, everybody. Thanks for watching. No worries. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I'm Chris Ridyard. This is the Reds Report, all rolled into one. I'm rushing that much. This is Carlo van der Watering. Also alongside us, we have super striker Cauley Woodrow. You all right, Cauley?
Yeah, good, mate. You?
Yeah, good. Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Good.
Carlo,
long time.
We've got Cauley on the show. We've got lots to ask him.
Yes.
I guess first and foremost, we'll talk about your new position that you've been playing under Gerhard Struber. How difficult have you found that transition, and is there a lot of skill sets that have helped you be able to, I don't know, take up that role, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's a little bit new to me. I've played it before, sort of previously when I was at other clubs and when I was at Fulham and stuff. I did play in that 10 role, but in this formation, I've never played it in this formation before. And once I signed for Barnsley, I'd only ever played as a 9. And then when the manager come in, he sort of first training session put me straight into the 10 position behind the strikers, and I was a little bit sort of I was unsure why, but I've been honestly really happy with how I've fitted in there. I think I've learned a lot, and the manager's definitely taught me a lot about the position. It's something that with the formation and the position he's used a lot at other clubs. So he's taught me a lot in terms of me playing there, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think it's had a positive impact on the team in terms of the whole formation of what the manager wants to play. And I think to speak for myself, it's probably got the best out of me playing in that position. So I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And On the match day at Oakwell, lots and lots of fans with the number 9 and Woodrow on the back of the shirt. When you were a little nipper, let's say, what player shirt would you, who was your idol? What player did you look up to thinking, I want to be like him?
To be fair, I liked Beckham as a kid. I mean, I don't play like him, or he wasn't my position, but I liked him. But I also used to support Arsenal when I was younger. So I sort of used to watch Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp, players like that. There's no real player I've sort of picked and said I want to be like, but there's definitely players that I've enjoyed watching over the years. Like I say, Henry, Bergkamp, Fernando Torres when he was playing really well, and yeah, so players like that, and just any good striker. Even now, Harry Kane. I mean, I enjoy watching him and sort of and learning off them types of players.
Yeah, you had to mention a Dutch player, didn't you, Cauley? Thanks for that. You mentioned Beckham. You mentioned Beckham. He's renowned for scoring wonderful free kicks from outside the box. Just run a stat past you here, Cauley. Out of your 34 goals for Barnsley, 7 of those have been outside the box. That's greater than 20%. I'm just wondering why you don't take free kicks, or why you're not knocking somebody off the ball for free kicks, because you clearly have got the ability to score from outside the box.
Yeah, to be fair, I've actually scored a few free kicks as well in my career, but I'm not too sure. I mean, Alex tends to take them. I know he's got a nice left foot. I think probably a couple out of it for Barnsley have probably gone in Rose Ed. That's probably why no one's ever given me another chance.
You don't get another go.
But yeah, no, it's probably definitely something I should maybe take the ball next time. I'll tell you what, on Saturday, if we get a free kick, I'll ask Alex if I can take it.
Brilliant. Another stat I've got for you before I go back to Carlo. 25 of your goals, so 25 out of 34, have all been with your first touch. I don't know if you're aware of that. That's 75% of your goals are with your first touch. Is that something you work on? Is that a mindset? Is that just, as Alex, when we interviewed Alex, he said it's a shoot on sight mindset that you've got. Is it purposeful? Is it just circumstantial? Is it to catch the goalie off guard?
No, it's definitely purposeful. I think it's something that I've worked on since obviously being a kid. In terms of being a striker, you need to be able to finish first time. It's simple as that. You only get a split second in a game, and you need to be ready for that chance when it does come. And I remember that start. I think in League One, I think I only scored 1 goal with taking 2 touches or whatever it was. So yeah, no, it's definitely something I've worked on. Like Alex said, I do tend to. If I do get a chance, I mean, even if you just see a split opening, I do like to take a shot. I mean, I think that's the main thing for a striker. You got to try and catch people off guard, catch keepers off guard and stuff. And yeah, I do sort of, if I get an opportunity to shoot, I don't turn it down. So, but in terms of my one-touch finishing, is definitely something I worked on. I work on it in training all the time. It's really important for a striker to get a little bit of space in the box and be able to finish quickly. So yeah, it's something I work on.
And we spoke to Alex Mowat a couple of weeks or a couple of months ago, and he was saying that during the lockdown, he spent a lot of time on his Xbox or his PlayStation, and as a bit of a sideline, he started baking. Any new skills you developed over the lockdown period?
I did actually make a couple of cheesecakes and that I've never ever made before in my life. There's a company on Instagram, they make cheesecakes and stuff. I thought I'd give it a go, and I ended up making a couple, and they weren't too bad actually. So yeah, I'd probably say that. I did make a couple of cheesecakes. I never ever would have done that before. So
that's very good. And before I hand over to Chris, I also have to say that we did some quick fire questions with Alex Mowat, and one of them was, if you had to go into the jungle, the Bear Grylls sort of series, that Ultimate Survival, with one of your fellow players, who wouldn't you take? And unfortunately, he said he wouldn't go into the jungle with you because you're scared of everything. And if you had to pick somebody to go into the jungle to be like a survival king kind of thing, what player would you choose?
I'd have to say Al now, because I'll just let him do everything. I let him.
Payback.
Yeah, I let him do everything. Alex, I'd probably go for Alex. I mean, there's a few things I probably can't say what he does on this camera, but yeah, he's a strange boy. So yeah, I'll definitely take him out there.
Final question for myself, a bit more football related. Sorry to be boring. You've played under, I'm led to believe, Phil Brown, Nigel Clough, Lee Johnson, Stendhal, Murray, and of course now Gerhard. Is there one piece of advice that any of those managers have given you that sticks in your head a little bit? We asked Alex about this, and he said his previous manager at Leeds phoned him when he was on his way to Barnsley, and the advice that he paid him is stuck in his head since then. I just wondered if there were anything that, you know, ticks over in your brain quite often.
I'm not too sure. I've learned a lot over the years. There's nothing really that probably massively sticks out, but I think in terms of probably this season, playing like we said earlier in a new position, learning new things. There's millions of things I could say now, but I think the manager is, like I said earlier, is massive on sort of positional play. And for me as a striker, I'm normally just thinking about scoring goals or sort of not really defending, things like that. Whereas this season, I've definitely sort of found a different side to my game where I've had to, in that 10 position, sort of defend more and be sort of the other side of the ball, the opposition attacking towards me. So definitely in terms of that, I think just the defensive side of the game and positions to be in, what the manager's taught me, and places to be, and just little tricks and stuff to sort of help me in that position. So I'd probably say I can't really put my finger on what it definitely would be, but there's lots of different things.
I guess that comes down to being open and being adaptable, isn't it, to learning new skills. So we'll go with that. Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
Cauley, first of all, thank you very, very much for joining us on the Red Report today. Obviously, we can't be there, but as the club's been saying, hopefully our noises through the app will sound through the sound system at Oakwell as you bang that first one in. And whilst we're not there in body, we will be side by side for these last 8 games. And we wish you and the boys nothing but the best of luck.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Cauley. I really appreciate your time. All the best.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Cauley. Thank you.